Hello everyone, my name is Shubhajit and today we will be solving the third problem of useRef problem solving series, which is fix blocking of alerts. So let's see what the UI looks like and then we can have a look at the code. So we have these three buttons, which is launch the spaceship, boil the soup, go for a run. Okay, let's see what happens if we click one of the buttons. Let's say boil the soup. After 2 seconds, this alert will come soup boiled. If I press go for run, then after 2 seconds, one alert will come say running. And if I say launch the spaceship, then after 2 seconds, spaceship launched alert will come. Okay, these are the individual button alerts which we have seen. Now, let me show you what will happen if I press these buttons before 2 seconds. So launch the spaceship, go for run, boil the soup, launch the spaceship, go for run, go for run again, launch the spaceship. Okay, let's see. After 2 seconds, spaceship launched and it's done. So you see that whatever the last uh, button clicked, that alert will only be shown, and the other alerts which are previously clicked, those set of alerts are gone. If you know about the concept of debouncing, this is actually the debouncing effect going on here. So for those people who don't know about debouncing, it's basically advanced JavaScript concept. So you can go through the docs to read more about it, but I will give you a gist what is debouncing. Debouncing is basically to optimize the fast re-render of the UI. Basically, uh, when we are clicking on these buttons, right, after before 2 seconds, in that case, what debouncing does is it will not let the output to be shown or that alert to be triggered whenever the user is pressing it before 2 seconds, and after the user has stopped pressing the or interaction with the UI, then the last element will be shown. This is also useful in cases whenever we are typing something and on each type some heavy function is being triggered, okay, which is taking a lot of time and it might be blocking the UI also. So in those cases, if we apply debouncing, then till the time the user is not user have not completed his typing of some word what he is searching for or whatever he is doing with that word, typing inside the input text box, and we have a 1 second delay. That is, let's say after 1 second of no typing from the user, then only that heavy function will be triggered with whatever the person has entered inside the input element. Okay, I hope you have understood that. Okay, let me show you an example also. Uh, if I start pressing React, let's say, okay, React learn, you can also see it in a way that when I am actually having a 1 second delay after my this click on the input click, then only the uh, these options should come. So this is an analogy which you should be able to understand. The suggestion should come only after 1 second of no typing on the UI. So that is basically debouncing, and it's done to optimize the UI interactivity so that uh, the UI will not have to load a lot of times based on the user interaction, because some of the interactions might not be necessary. Okay, so let's get into the problem now because I have done a lot of explanation here about debouncing also. Okay, so as you have, so this dashboard is the main component here, which consists of three buttons as you have seen on the UI: launching spaceship, boiling soup, and go for run. These three buttons are not the actual button elements in HTML. These are custom button elements which have an on click function, clicking, okay, and in that what is happening, an alert is being triggered. In each of them there are separate alerts. Okay, so inside this button we are passing an on click function. So this on click function is there, and what is this children? I don't think I have explained about this in any of my videos. So if you see this button starting from here and ending here, there is something inside between this. So whatever is between this is actually the children. So whenever we call a button with something inside, there can be paragraph tags, there can be divs, there can be a lot of text, anything, whatever is there, it is children. So what is children here? The children here for the first button is launch the spaceship. For the second one, it's boil the soup, and for the third one is go for a run. So you should understand that here inside the button element, inside this button component, what will happen is we have a button HTML element and we have this children. So inside this button, this children will be shown, that is launch the spaceship, boil the soup, or go for a run. Okay, so that is as simple as that. So this children prop has been given by React, and it stores anything which is present between the starting of the component and ending of the component. That is basically this part in between that. Okay, I hope you have understood that. Now let's see what is there inside the on-click handler of the actual button HTML element. So on click, what will happen is clear timeout ID. Okay, so whenever this button is clicked, what happens is it will clear the timeout ID. What is the timeout ID? The timeout ID is something which is present outside the button component, or which is present outside any of the components or functions. In that case, this timeout ID becomes a global variable for this file, and that's why these all button instances, these all three button instances which we have created here, they will all share the same timeout ID. You should understand this. We have three button instances here, so these three instances will be created, and each of them will be having the same timeout ID, which is this in line number 3. Okay, so whenever this button is clicked, what we are doing, we are actually clearing the timeout of this timeout ID. Then we are creating a new set timeout and storing that ID inside the timeout ID. And what that set timeout does, after 2 seconds, it will click the onClick function, which is passed from the passed into this button component, that is this onClick function. You should not confuse with this onClick function which is passed here and this onClick function. So basically this buttons onClick function is the native onClick function of JavaScript buttons. Okay, and this onClick function is actually the function which is passed. So to make it not confusing to you, okay, to make it not confusing to you, rename symbol on handle click. Okay, on handle click, on handle click, and here also on handle click, and here also on handle click. So now you should be able to see that there is a difference actually. Okay, you should not confuse with that, but we can use with the same names on click also. This on click is different, and the on click which was previously there was a different, it was passed. So now you might not have any confusion because I have changed the name. So clear timeout we have, that is on clicking of this button we will clear the timeout which is presently having, and setting the timeout to a new timeout and calling this on click function, that is these ones, these three which are passed after 2 seconds. Okay, due to that, what is happening, that whenever, let's say, we are clicking this spaceship launched button, what will happen after 2 seconds? What will happen, this timeout ID will be cleared, which was previously there was no timeout ID, so this line will have not much of effect. Then this timeout ID will be having a set timeout. Whatever returned from the set timeout will be stored in the timeout ID. Okay, and this timeout ID, whatever, and what is inside the set timeout, it will call the on handle click, that is it will call this alert spaceship launched after 2 seconds. Okay, this is done, but before 2 seconds only. So now the timeout ID have spaceship launch alert after 2 seconds. After 2 seconds. Okay. I hope you have understood. But let's say after 1 second only, we click the this button, go for run. If we click this button, what will happen? It will clear the timeout ID, and this timeout ID is the same timeout ID which is storing the spaceship launch alert. So that will be cleared. So this thing will be cleared out, and now we will have the go for run alert, and it will also be executed after 2 seconds. Now let's say at 1.5 seconds after this, we click the soup boiled, then it will destroy this, and it will again create store the timeout ID for calling this on handle click. On handle click will be called for alert for soup boiled. This will run after 2 seconds. So I hope, okay, I hope you have understood what I'm saying here. It is destroying the previous timeout IDs of other alerts and establishing the present alert here. So that is what is happening, and our intended behavior, this is the debouncing effect. Our intended behavior is to remove this debouncing effect, and we want here that whatever buttons we click, all those alerts should come in that order. How can we achieve that? We can achieve that only through the way that this timeout ID is not shared among all the button elements. This should be this should be local to each of the button elements. Okay, they should not be shared globally through all the button elements. Okay, for this what I have to do, I have to remove this from here, and I have to put this here. Okay, now you will say, and let us initialize it for null. Okay, now you will say, okay, Shubhajit, now we have done this. What is the use case? Now it is local, right? So each one of them has a different timeout ID now. Okay, but if you have seen my previous useRef video, that is the second video, you should be able to understand that it might not work. Why it might not work? Because because okay, let me first actually go through the UI and see if it works or not. So launch the spaceship, boil the soup, go for run. Spaceship launched, soup boiled, running. Okay, it is working. It is working fine for now. I don't know why I said that, but it is working. Why it is working? Because each of them has a different timeout ID now. Okay, each of them has a different timeout ID. So if I call this button and if I call this button, then I am good because that is a normal thing. Spaceship launched and then soup boiled. But let's say if I call the launch the spaceship and launch the spaceship double, then what will happen? Spaceship launched only one time. Okay, let's see if I use the useRef hook here. If you have seen my previous video, you should be able to understand that using the useRef hook, you should be able to hold that value on the next re-renders of the component. So useRef, making it to null initially, timeout id dot current. Okay, and timeout id dot current. This looks fine. Now let me click launch spaceship 2 times. Spaceship launched. Okay, so this is also happening once. They both have the same effect here. Okay, so if you use the useRef hook, it is a good practice. If you don't use it, still it is working here. But there are a lot of cases in which we might not have like made this type of child component and use the timeout ID here. In those cases, it might happen that we need a useRef hook. If you also watch my second video, you will be able to understand that what is the use case of the useRef hook more clearly. So yeah, this is all about this video, guys. Thanks a lot for watching this, and If you have any doubts, let me know in the comment section. I will be happy to help.